What's up, everybody? Louie back here again to break down UFC Vegas 49. Can you believe it? Almost 50 Vegas events in this post-COVID era, but I'm glad we're getting the fights. Anyway, quick recap. Last weekend, I did very well. I went 9-1, and the one I lost was questionable at best. Danabel beat Gloria Paula. Close one, lower level women's MMA, whatever. My big hitters were Stephanie Egger, plus 180. I just didn't think Jessica Rose Clark had a diversified enough game. Too much clinching, to keep it simply. Something stuck out. David Onama, I think he was like minus 160, and he got the knockout. Didn't have to stress too much with that one, so that was great. And then Parker Porter getting it done, close one. Big, laid a lot of chalk, like minus 280 on him, but he pulled through, and I was happy about that. And then Jamal Hill, he was a big favorite, but he came through and got it done in like couple under 2 minutes, and I didn't have to stress too much about that one, so that wasn't too bad. And then Joaquin Buckley and Abdul Razak Al Hassan, close one, but Buckley came through with a close decision. And also Jim Miller, plus 150, not the biggest profit in the world, but man, dude, Jim Miller's kind of like a cash machine now. He keeps fighting up and comers, and he's the underdog, so might as well take him. So pretty good weekend for me, honestly. Taking a look ahead to this weekend, UFC Vegas 49. Very interesting main event. It was originally Islam Makhachev and Beneil Dariush. I was super excited for that fight. Dariush fell out. Now it's actually Bobby Green and Islam Makhachev. And arguably, I'm more excited for this one because Bobby Green has a huge opportunity here against Islam. If he wins, I think you got to give the guy a title shot. And Islam, he's looking to dominate and look like Bobby Green doesn't belong in there with him because he wants a title shot immediately. So I think arguably it's more interesting. Rest of the card, not that great, but whatever. We got Gregor Rodriguez on there, RoboCop. I love watching him fight. And then I'm really excited for the Rong Zhu and Ignacio Blachowicz. I'm really excited for that one. Zhu is 21 years old, coming from China, so see what he does. And then Terrence McKinney and Fares Ziam. See if Terrence McKinney is more than a one-hit wonder, literally, and see if he can go more than a round. So that's what I'm excited for. Anyway, let's get into it real quick. First fight on the card at 125 men's flyweight. You got Victor Altamirano taking on Carlos Hernandez. Both of these guys coming off the Contender Series. It is both of their first UFC fights, something to keep in mind. Altamirano took on Carlos Candelero his last fight. In the first round, he presses forward with the leg kicks and then gets some hooks to get on the inside, but then he eats a head kick on the exit. But he gets taken down with a single from space, but then he eats some hard ground and pound, but he's able to get up eventually. Then he presses with some straight shots, but he backs up and gets taken down toward the end of the round. And then in the second round, he eats some left counters as he's pressing forward in the pocket, but then he eats a straight left and gets taken down with a double. But then in the third round, he lands some body hooks whenever Candelero presses forward, and then he presses with his own 1-2 and then a head kick. And then he's able to get a trip takedown on the fence, and he's able to take the back. And then toward the end, he gets taken down, but he's able to reverse the position and just kind of look good for the judges, get a more victory there. A relatively close fight. I thought he looked okay. Carlos Hernandez took on Daniel Barres his last fight. In the first round, he bounces at range, tries to work inside with the hooks, but he eats some leg kicks and a hook blitz when he tries to go in. But then he presses with body kicks and hooks, and then he lands a jump knee to the head. But then he misses a hook and he gets taken down with a double and gets put in a rear naked choke position, but is able to hang on there and, obviously didn't tap out. And then in the second round, he presses, but he gets rocked with the 1-2, but then he's able to get on top whenever Barres slips. But then he gets put in a sort of a triangle attempt and needs some shots, but then he's able to take side control, and then he's able to take his back and get both hooks in. But then he gets taken down. With a double, going to get back on the feet to end the round. But then in the third round, he eats a counter left hook as he's pressing forward, but he walks into a double leg. But then back on the feet, he lands a counter left hook and then lands a hook flurry. This is a tough one, especially since they're both making their UFC debut. But the betting line: Hernandez minus 145, Altamirano plus 125. Don't have a great explanation. I just think Hernandez, I think he hits harder. I think he picks his shots better. I think his wrestling's a little bit better. I think he actually might be able to get Altamirano on the ground if he has to, or at least clinch him up. It's a tough one. It's hard to tell with these newcomers, but whatever. The line's relatively close. My pick here is Carlos Hernandez. It is what it is. Second fight of the night at 170 men's welterweight. Ramiz Brahimaj taking on Michael Gilmore. Brahimaj took on Court McGee. His last fight, tough one for him. Court McGee is a tough veteran. In the first round, he presses forward with the left hook, but then he eats a left hook and gets clinched to the fence, and then gets doubled off of the fence, and he gets mat returned, and he gives his back up. Then he able to get back on his feet. He presses with some jabs, but he eats overhand and hooks when he gets on the inside. Court McGee's able to get on the inside, but then he gets dropped with the overhand right at the very end of the round, which is tough because that could give up the whole round right there. And then the second round, he gets the double, but he gets reversed and then clinched to the fence, and he gets his back taken by McGee. Then he eats some hooks on the fence and gets taken down with a double, and then he eats a 1-2 standing at range. And then the third round, he gets doubled off the fence again, and he gets his back taken and gives up full mount to McGee. Tough one for him, but he hung in there and stayed tough. Court McGee, tough veteran, and he's going to smother you if you're not in shape. So, and then Michael Gilmore, he took on Andre Petroski's last fight. In the first round, he's at range, and he looks to land some overhands to get inside. But then he eats a forward right hook, and he gets doubled off the fence, and then he gives his back, and he gets put in a rear naked choke attempt in the first round. Then the second round, he lands the inside leg kick and then a head kick, and then he lands a 1-2 and presses forward. But then he walks into a head kick and eats a head kick. But then he's able to stuff the double leg and then land some leg kicks off of that. But then he eats some overhand rights, and then he gets taken down with a double at the end of the round. And then in the third round, he gets doubled off the fence and gets put in a full mount, and just gets TKO'd from ground and pound. Just kind of couldn't keep him off him and kind of had enough there. The betting line, Gilmore plus 290. Ramiz Brahimaj is minus 380. And I hate this line, but I just did not see anything like that on Michael Gilmore. Yeah, he's scrappy. He can land some hard shots, but I think as the fight goes on, he's going to get tired and he's going to get sloppy. And Brahimaj didn't show a ton his last fight, but he showed me that he can hang in there with Court McGee. He got dropped and came back, and that's huge. I hate this line, but I just really don't see Michael Gilmore getting it done, and it's lower level, and sometimes you got to lay the chalk on these lower level fighters. My pick here is Ramiz Brahimaj. Moving on to the third fight of the prelims at 145 men's featherweight. Alejandro Perez taking on Jonathan Martinez. Jonathan Martinez still trying to show that he's a bright prospect. Perez took on Johnny Eduardo his last fight. In the first round, he's on the inside, on the outside. He lunges in with the 1-2. Then he lands a left hook inside the pocket when they exchange, and then he presses forward with the jab, and then he lands a check left hook. And then in the second round, he gets taken down after he's throwing a knee, a little bit of bad ring IQ, but then he presses forward with the overhand right, and he feints a hook, and he's able to get the double leg, and then he scrambles through the position, and he's able to get the submission with the straight arm bar using his legs. He basically puts the arm between his knees from side control. So pretty interesting, pretty innovative, and good at scrambling. So definitely some positives there. And then Jonathan Martinez took on Zviad Lazishvili, I believe, in his last fight. In the first round, he gets clinched to the fence, but he's able to defend all the takedowns, a good sign. And then he lands a knee to the body, and then a left hook, and then he presses forward with jabs, but he eats a right cross, but then he lands some jabs and then 1-2s to end the round. Then in the second round, he lands some leg kicks at range, and he lands some jabs, but he eats a couple 1-2s on the return. But then he backs out of range, gets out of range of the jab, so Zviad can't reach him quite. And then he lands a head kick, and then he lands a check left hook, and then some front kicks. And then in the third round, he lands some 1-2s, presses a little more, starts pumping his jab, and then he's able to defend the double leg and land some jabs from range. Take a look at the money at the betting line. Jonathan Martinez minus 250, Perez plus 200. Martinez is a little chinny in the past. He's gotten flash knocked out, but he didn't in his last fight, and he seems to be a little more conservative, trying to draw the fight out a little longer. And this line really sucks, but it's lower level featherweight, and I don't know, man. I just like Jonathan Martinez here. I think we'll be able to keep the range, keep him at bay. I think Perez might have some success early, but I think if Martinez gets it out of the first round, doesn't take too much damage, I think he can get it done. The money line sucks, but it is what it is. My pick here is Jonathan Martinez. All right. On to the feature fight of the prelims at 155 men's lightweight. You got Terrence McKinney taking on Faris Ziam. McKinney took on his last couple fights. They ended like first round knockouts. In his last fight, he knocked the fuck out of Matt Favola in 7 seconds. So that is what that is. But I took a look at his contender fight against Sean Woodson because it went the longest out of his last fights. So he took on Sean Woodson in the first round. He shoots a double on the fence, but he can't complete it. But then he just and then he walks in to jab Woodson. But then he's able to get a single and then get the trip takedown off the fence. And then he's able to take the back and get a rear naked choke attempt and stay there for some substantial amount of time in the first round. Then in the second round, his double is stuffed, however, and then he's able to duck Woodson's hook, and then he's able to take the back with the shuck by from the front headlock position, and then he gets a figure four in the body. But then Woodson's able to explode out, and then Terrence dips down for shooting a double or a single. And then he gets KO'd with a knee from Woodson right up the middle. And just tough one. But, you know, McKinney showed some wrestling there, which he hasn't done in his last fight. So that's something to consider, and that's why I went back to watch this fight. And then Faris Zayam, he took on Luigi Vendramini his last fight. In the first round, he pumps the jab at range, presses with the lead left hook. And then he's able to back out of the blitz whenever Vendramini comes towards him, and then he's able to land a check left hook. And then the second round, he gets pressed, but he lands a knee up the middle, and he's able to stuff the takedown attempt. And then he circles, pumps a double jab, and then he stuffs a double against the fence. Good to see, especially going against McKinney if he plans to use his wrestling. And then in the third round, he gets pressed, and he eats the right hook, but he's able to circle out. But then he eats some more right hooks, and he gets rocked. Just kind of gets chased down there. But then he gets pushed down when he's a little rocked, and then he eats some ground and pound. Eventually, he's able to shrimp out of the position, get to his feet. But then he gets pressed and eats another hook, and then because he gets cut off on the cage and just eats some hooks toward the end of the fight. Take a look at the money line. Zayam is minus 115, and McKinney minus 105. And fuck it, I'm gonna go with McKinney here because he's got power. Zayam gets rocked. And if he has to, he can wrestle. So I don't think McKinney's necessarily a one-round fighter. That's what he showed. But, you know, we've seen Phil Hawes go longer than one round, win the decision. So fuck it, why not? But if you're going to pick McKinney, I think a good prop line is win by finish for McKinney plus 175 because, you know, he might, you know, there's always a good chance he'll get that first round knockout. So I like that one. Moving on to the co-main event of the prelims at 135, women's bantamweight. Josiane Nunes taking on Ramona Pascual. Nunes took on Bea Malecki her last fight. Malecki, very tall woman. In the first round, she presses with leg kicks and lands a combination of the body, and then she lands a straight left to the body and then the head. And she's willing to walk through some jabs to land a hook flurry, which, you know, she eats some shots. She thinks she can take them. It's a little risky in my opinion. But then she eats a head kick and some straights when they're in the pocket. And then she wings some overhand lefts and hooks against the fence, but most of them get blocked, just kind of thrown wildly. But then she presses with a lot of left hooks and then a knee to the body, and then she lands a straight left to the body and then a flurry, and then she's able to get the knockout with a left hook on the break off the cage. So pretty aggressive fighter, a little shorter for the weight class, I believe. Malecki was very tall, but you know, just kind of a wild woman and just kind of like to throw power shots, but she's able to get it done. So. And then Ramona Pascual, she took on Shamir Peshua her last fight. This is all outside the UFC. Not much to this fight. First round, presses with the right hook, lands a leg kick, presses a 1-2, and then she gets a plumb tie, knees to the head, gets the knockout. And then she took on Guadalupe Guzman her last fight. Her fight before that, in the first round, she lands the knees to the body in the plumb tie, and then she gets a trip takedown. And then she's able to get side control, get a crucifix position, and then get the key lock submission. Not much to that. Again, this wasn't in the UFC, so you question the talent she was fighting. Pascual plus 175, Nunes minus 210. Lower level women's MMA, but I just didn't see anything out of Pascual. I didn't see a reason to bet her at all, to be honest. Making a UFC debut, that's a red flag. And Nunes hits hard. Might be harder for her to go later on the fight, but I haven't seen Pascual get out of the first round either, so this sucks. The line sucks. Lower level women's fight at bantamweight, not the most talent-stacked division. It is what it is. Minus 210. You got to throw it down. My pick here is Josiane Nunes. All right. Main event of the prelims at 155, men's lightweight. You got Rong Zhu taking on Ignacio Blachowicz. Zhu, this is his second fight in the UFC, 21 years old, from China. He took on Brandon Jenkins his last fight. In the first round, he's at range, he presses in with the jab, and then they trade some leg kicks. And then he lands a right cross in the pocket, lands some jabs, and then a 1-3 combination. And then he drops him with the right hook off of a spinning back kick attempt by Jenkins. More so bad by Jenkins than something Zhu did amazingly, but you know, you take it, and then he's able to take the back standing and get some mat returns, which is always good to see from ground control. And then in the second round, he lands a head kick and then a double off the fence, and then he mat returns him again. And then he gets one hook in, rear naked choke attempt, and then he just transitions to half guard, goes back and forth there, and lands some ground and pound. Then he lands some hard ground and pound from the back position, and then he gets swept, but he gets back to his feet, and then lands a straight shot flurry against the fence. And then in the third round, he presses, starts landing a double jab, and then he gets on top whenever Jenkins slips, and he takes his back with one hook against the fence. And then he gets the TKO from ground and pound on the back and just vicious with it and kind of took his time. And I like what I saw out of a young fighter like him, and I'm pretty high on him right now, to be honest. And then Ignacio Blachowicz, he took on Roosevelt Roberts his last fight. In the first round, he lands some hooks and leg kicks inside the pocket, and then he eats a 1-2, but then he gets clenched to the fence, but then he lands an overhand right, but then he eats a jab from Roberts, but then he lands a leg kick and then a 1-2, and he's able to defend a single leg attempt against the cage, and then he jabs him up, then just unleashes some jabs, and then he lands a straight right on the fence, and then he's able to defend another double leg. Then in the second round, he lands a 1-2 as Roberts presses forward, and then he backs out of jab range in the pocket, and then he lunges forward and lands some hooks, and then he jabs the body, which I like to see, but then he eats some jabs at range, but he pumps some leg kicks as Robert presses him again. Then in the third round, he's able to stuff the double leg from open space, and then he lands a straight right to the body, and he presses with some straight shots to the head and to the body against the fence, and then he eats some return jabs in an exchange and some straights whenever he pressures, but then he's able to keep coming, and then he gets a knockout with a spinning back kick, like 5 seconds left to go, which is fucking amazing, but can't really count on that every time. Bahamondes, minus 195, Rong Zhu, plus 165. I like Rong Zhu here. It was a toss-up for me, honestly. I don't think Roosevelt Roberts is the best competition. Brandon Jenkins not the best competition. But, you know, I think Zhu's a little bit disrespected here. I think he can go 3 rounds. I think his wrestling's good. I think he hits hard. I liked what I saw out of his ground control. He took advantage of opportunities to get on top. I like the plus money on him. My pick here is Rong Zhu. Kind of a no-brainer, honestly. We'll see, though. It's a gamble. All right, on to the first fight of the main card at 185, men's middleweight. Armen Petrosian taking on Gregory Robocop Rodriguez. Low-key, very excited to watch Gregory Rodriguez fight again. Petrosian, he took on Kalyan Koliev his last fight. In the first round, he gets taken out with the double off the fence and mat returned and then clinched to the fence. But then he's able to circle out of that clinch off the fence and then lands a body kick, lands a 1-2, but then he gets clinched to the fence after, but then he lands a head kick and some jabs and then a 1-2 of his 1-2 combination, and then he lands an uppercut and he's able to stuff the double leg attempt, and then he lands a right and left hooks and gets a knockout with the head kick, so just kind of charges at him. But before that, he was getting dominated in the grappling basically for a lot of time, and if he doesn't get the knockout, arguably he would have lost the round. Gregory Rodriguez, decent grappler. Rodriguez took on Jung Young Park, a.k.a. the Iron Turtle, his last fight. Crazy fight. In the first round, he's at range. He lunges with the jabs to get on the inside, and then he lands some straights to the body. He lands a jab and a right hook, and then a straight right. He's able to get the clinch on the fence, and he lands a nice elbow, hard elbow there. Then he lands a jab in the firefight, and he pumps a jab and then a 1-2. And then he's able to get a single leg takedown and then a figure 4 around the back, take the back, and then he lands some elbows and ground and pound from that position, keeps working, keeps busy, scores points. Then in the second round, he presses forward but eats a 1-2, and then he gets rocked with the left hook and then a firefight. His double leg gets stuffed, he gets put in the darce, but he's able to scramble out and then takes Parks back. And then, back on the feet, he eats some hooks, but he's able to duck under and get the hip toss takedown, beautiful hip toss takedown. And then he back on the feet, he lands a right over Park's jab in the firefight. A lot of firefights in this fight. And then he eats a flurry, but he lands some right crosses, and he's able to back Park up, get him off of him. And then he lands a 1-2 and an uppercut and gets a knockout kind of out of nowhere. Crazy firefight. Gregory Rodriguez wins firefights. Greg Rodriguez minus 155. Armen Petrosian plus 135. No brainer here for me. not that big of a difference. My pick here is Gregory Rodriguez. I think his grappling's better. They get into a firefight. He has more power. I don't know, I guess Petrosian might be able to catch him, but I mean, if it gets out of the first round, I've got Gregory Rodriguez all day. I'm going to take him. Easy pick, Gregory Rodriguez. All right, second fight on the main card at 155 again, men's lightweight. You got Arman Tsarukyan taking on Joel Alvarez. This is the fight I'm most interested in because Joel Alvarez knocked Thiago Moises the fuck out his last fight. So, Tsarukyan took on Christos Giagos. His last fight didn't go long. First round, his double gets stuffed, and then he gets pushed over, but he uses the wall, get up, wall walk with his back, and then he back on the feet. He lands a body kick, and then he lands a left hook off of Giagos' front kick, and then he drops him and just gets a TKO, just swarms him, does what he has to do. Very nice. And then before that, he took on Mafrovola. Mafrovola a little chinny, but, you know, tough guy, though. In the first round, he catches his kick, and he gets a single, and then he's able to mat return him. And then he presses forward with the jabs on the feet, and then he shoots a double, but he gets lat dropped, but then he's able to clinch against the fence, and then he presses with the jabs, and then the 1-2, and he's able to slip Matt's hooks, and then but he gets pressed and eats the right hook again. But you know, that fight went 3 rounds. Basically does the same thing all 3 rounds. Able to use his wrestling, able to outstrike him, stay at distance. You know, Mavrovola couldn't really land too much on him, except when, you know, Mavrovola just kind of started swinging wild. So, but you know, he looked pretty good. Joel Alvarez, he took on Thiago Moises his last fight. He missed weight by a lot, by the way. In the first round, he lands a step-in knee to the body, but then he hits a right hook in the pocket, and then he lands a knee to the body, and then a 1-2. And then he rocks him with the overhand right, and then he lands right elbow flurry, multiple right elbows, and then he chases him and just lands some jabs because he smells blood, and he goes after it, which I like about him. But then he's able to catch the kick and then land a body kick of his own, and then an elbow flurry, and then just gets the TKO, just swarms him with that. And very impressive because Moises is a tough guy, pretty skilled. And, you know, I think he was like ranked 15 at the time, 15 or 13 or something like that. So pretty impressive victory for Alvarez. Made a big statement in that fight. Alvarez plus 180, Tsarukyan minus 220. I like Joel Alvarez, but I don't like him past the first round. And, you know, Tsarukyan has some wrestling, and Joel Alvarez wrestling defense would be questionable. Offensive wrestling, you know, he's not going to use that. You know, I just like Tsarukyan here. If Joel Alvarez knocks him out in the first round, so be it. The line's a little wide, but I just see Tsarukyan dragging the fight out, not getting hit with anything big. I think he's going to be able to take him down. And I don't think, you know, Alvarez submission threat, anything for Tsarukyan to really worry about, to be honest. I think Tsarukyan is pretty smart on the ground. He'll be able to take the back if it gets there. Minus 220, I hate the line, but my pick here is Arman Tsarukyan. On to the feature fight of the main card. Women's flyweight, 125. You got Ji-Yeon Kim taking on Priscilla Casuaria. Kim, she took on Molly McCann her last fight. Pretty good fight. In the first round, she backs up but lands a head kick, but she eats a hard right. Eats some hard right hooks in the pocket, but then she's able to reverse the clinch position on the fence. She's able to stuff a double leg, land some knees in the clinch against the fence. In the second round, she backs out of range whenever Molly throws her hooks, and then she lands some straight shots and jabs. She comes forward, lands a 1-2, then lands a 1-2 and circles away, which I liked, and then she slips the overhand, circles away, and then she presses, but she eats some overhand rights from Molly, and Molly kind of starts unloading on her at this point. But then she gets pressed and eats a flurry against the fence, and then she gets taken down toward the end of the round, which I don't like giving up takedowns at the end of the round. And then in the third round, she eats a left hook to the body, lands some straight rights as Molly presses forward, but then she eats a straight left in the pocket, and then Molly's able to get on the inside and then land some straight lefts to end. And, you know, Molly just kind of outworked her, to be honest, pressed her, but a lot of good technical striking from Kim, a lot of slipping, and a lot of picking apart from the outside, but just couldn't get the victory. And then Priscilla Casuaria took on Jillian Robertson in her last fight. In the first round, she stalks forward, pumps a jab, able to defend the single leg, but then she misses the hook, and she gets taken down with a double leg, and then she gives up a full mount position, eats a lot of ground and pound, and then she gets put in the rear naked choke with no hooks and tries to thumb Jillian Robertson in the eye, and she still gets submitted, so didn't like that. And then she took on Gina Mazzani the fight before that. In the first round, she presses forward with the overhands, but then she gets clinched to the fence and taken down with the trip. And then she lands some hooks in the clinch, and then she gets double-legged. And then in the second round, she gets taken down with a single and put in a half guard, but then she's able to get back to her feet. And then she lands a straight right in the pocket, and then an overhand. And then she lands a straight right against the fence, and then some right hooks, and then just gets the TKO. Mazzani was visibly exhausted at this point, but you know, credit to Priscilla, she weathered the storm and you know, was able to hit her with some power shots. Take a look at the betting line. Casuaria plus 140, Kim minus 160. Yeah, I don't. Lower level women's fight again. I don't like this line at all, but I feel like if it makes it out of the first round, I know Casuaria beat Mazzani in the second round, but I think Kim is going to be able to stay at range and pick her apart. I think she might lose the first round. Casuaria, I think, is going to unload on the first round, just my feeling. And I think Kim can avoid not getting knocked out, not getting seriously dropped or hurt. Or if she does, I think she can rally back. And I think over 3 rounds, I think she'll get the decision. And staying on the outside, pumping jabs. Minus 160, not the greatest, but it's not the worst. My pick here is Ji-Yeon Kim. All right. On to the co-main event of the evening. Honestly, not a great co-main event, but whatever. Wellington Turman, big spot for him, I guess you'd say. At 185 men's middleweight, you got Misha Serkinov taking on Wellington Turman. Serkinov took on Krzysztof Jotko his last fight. This was his first fight at 185. Before that, he was at 205, so cut him a little slack. In the first round, he comes forward, lands a short right, but he eats a 1-2. His single leg attempt gets stuffed, but then he's able to defend the body lock with the overhook wizard, and then he's able to get the clinch against the fence. And a whole lot of clinching in this fight. Honestly, a lot of clinching, not too many strikes from what I saw. And then in the second round, he's not able to get the single leg against the fence, but then he eats an overhand combination, and then he misses the head kick and then eats a left hook. And then in the third round, he's able to get the single leg takedown right away into the crackdown position, and he's able to get around the back. But can't really do much there. But then back on the feet, he's able to defend the trip attempt again with the overhook, which is nice. But then he eats a jab in the pocket, and then he gets taken down with the trip toward the end of the fight, giving up around there basically, and I don't like that. Wellington Turman took on Sam Alvey his last fight. In the first round, he lands a left hook and then clinches to the fence, and then he presses forward with the overhand right and lands a spinning back elbow, which really cuts up Sam Alvey, a very nasty gash. Looks good to the judges subconsciously. And then he gets the body lock takedown in the first round. And then in the second round, he's able to get the double against the fence. And then Sam pops right back up. But he's able to keep the clinch, which is good. You know, kind of makes him pay for it. And just keeps working on him, keeps trying to wear on him, which is good. And then, but he eats a straight left when they're in the pocket. But then he lands a 1-2, and then he gets the clinch again. And then he's able to land a head kick, but he eats a left cross as he's rushing forward. But then in the third round, he eats some jabs at range, eats a 1-2, but then he presses with a straight right. And this is where he lost 2 points for 2 consecutive eye pokes. And then you see Wellington Turman just turn it on and just go after Sam Alvey, throw caution in the wind, and he actually looked the best he's looked the whole fight. So go figure. He presses with a straight right, and then he presses with some wild hooks, and then he lands a jab and some right hooks to end the fight. And like I said, once he turned it on, he decided to go. He looked really good. Hopefully we can see some of that in this fight. He is a little chinny. Yeah, got knocked out his past 2 fights before this, but you know, I didn't see anything like that. Serkinov, I think the weight cut might hurt him. You know, you'd think he does a little better this weight cut. It's his second one, but I don't know. Wellington Turman plus 115, Serkinov minus 135. I honestly don't know. And a rule that I need to stick with more is if it's a close fight and I don't know, pick the underdog. Wellington Turman plus 115. Nice little profit there. My pick here is Wellington Turman. That's that. All right, on to the main event of the evening. I'm actually very excited about this one. At 155, men's lightweight, you got Islam Makhachev taking on Bobby King Green. Bobby King Green stepping in on short notice. He fought like Nazareth Haqparast like 2 weeks ago, something crazy like that. Haqparast, tough dude, looks really good in that fight. You know, I'm not really gonna go through the whole breakdown thing here because you know, there's so many intangibles in this fight. Like I said, Bobby Green on 2 weeks' notice. Bobby Green not even ranked. Islam Makhachev ranked number 3 or 4, and you know, looking for a title shot. So it is what it is. Bobby Green plus 600, Islam Makhachev minus 900. I think this is going to be a tougher fight than people think. I think Bobby Green is going to be able to piece him up. I think he might be able to defend a takedown or 2. If he does get taken down, I think he'll be able to fight off his back, escape after a while, shrimp out, use defense. But I'm sorry, Bobby Green's not going to knock him out. He only knocked out Ali Quinta, and Ali Quinta has been off for 2 years. You know, he might win, sneak a round or 2, possibly. I just don't see it. I think it's going to be a fun fight. I think Bobby Green's going to impress a lot of people. I think he's going to give Islam some problems. I think it's going to be a great fight, but I got to go with Islam Makhachev here, minus 900. That line sounds crazy. I get that. But something I like, over 2.5, minus 105. Basically even money. I like that one. I think this will go longer. I think, I think Bobby Green's pretty tough. It might even go to decision. I wouldn't be surprised, but over 2.5 is a safe play for even money. So I like that. Anyway, really looking forward to this fight card. Next weekend, you got Jorge Masvidal taking on Colby Covington. No belts involved, but it's just such a big grudge match. I want to see it. I can't wait. I don't care it's on for a belt. I don't care that it's $75. And then you got Rafael Fiziev taking on Rafael dos Anjos. It sucks that we didn't get it last week, but it's going to be awesome next week when we get that with the Covington and Masvidal main event. So I'm very excited. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me. I appreciate it. Hopefully I can help you guys win some money. Like I said, I went 9-1 last weekend, so I want to get that perfect. I'm so close to that perfect night here. But anyway, leave a comment. Ask me some questions. I'm happy to answer them. Follow me Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I'll do a post-fight interview, post-fight recap. And, just reach out to me. If you have a parlay or whatever, I'll take a look at it. Not a huge parlay guy, more straight picks, but, maybe I can learn some things from you guys. So just want to learn, just want to make money. Let's see some good fights. Let's see, you know what? If Bobby Green wins, I'll be happy. I won't even care. Let's see a crazy upset maybe, and let's see some more money in 2022. Thanks, guys.